I started doing the Southern Illinois Kayak Club, and I fell in love with it. My first tournament I had was a charity event. I won that one. Next tournament was a May month long. I won that one.
Oh, hey everyone, welcome back to the Kayak Bass Connection podcast. I'm Jared, your host. This is the podcast where we explore the ever-growing sport of kayak fishing. So this week we continue our coverage of the Southern Illinois Kayak Club's tournament trail, this time at Devil's Kitchen Lake down in Southern Illinois. So this was a very tough tournament. This lake presented many challenges to the anglers, including a wicked storm early in the morning, and then a fishery dominated by small fish that wouldn't even break the 13-inch mark. But there also were a few giants, so they spent a lot of time hunting for those giants. I want to congratulate tournament winner Jay Riedler with bringing home a win in this tough tournament. Second place finisher Kevin Cox and third place finisher Darren Henker were able to sit down with us and discuss their fight with the devil in the kitchen. So let's get right to the interview. All right, welcome back to the Kayak and Bass Connection podcast. I'm very lucky tonight. I've got two of the top three finishers and the Southern Illinois Kayak Club's latest derby at Devil's Kitchen, Illinois, in Southern Illinois, Devil's Kitchen Lake. A very unique fishery. So I want to welcome second place finisher Kevin Cox and third place finisher Darren Hemker tonight. Now, first place finisher Jay Riedler. We want to congratulate him, and hopefully we'll get to talk to him again sometime soon. But Kevin, if you could go first and just introduce yourself for us and tell us a little bit about yourself and why are you fishing from a kayak?
Well, my name's Kevin Cox. I'm from the pretty close to the southern tip of Illinois in a little town called Goreville. Just fortunately, Devil's Kitchen's about 15 minutes from my
Nice.
house. But you know, I fished boat tournaments for years. Arkansas, Alabama, all over Illinois, a little bit of Mississippi, and just to be honest with you, the camaraderie is just not there anymore. And when I started kayak fishing, I feel like I found that again. And I really enjoy it. It's me, myself, and I. And you know, when you run into somebody in the water, you know they're not they're not too worried about cutting you off or talking to you. I mean, Darren and I fished 2 foot away from each other the other day for probably 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like I said, the camaraderie, the friendship, it's just a real lot of fun for me.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Yeah.
Darren, what about yourself?
I basically just started fishing out of a kayak. 2020. I started fishing for kayak, and I've actually never fished from a boat, believe it or not. I fished since I could walk, basically in ponds. And Reese, my buddy, he told me, "Hey, you ought to try this kayak thing. It's kind of fun." Tried it out and did okay in it, and really liked it. And started in 2020, and have had pretty good success since then. I'm from about 60 miles east of St. Louis in a town called Germantown. So
Oh, yeah. Okay. Fantastic. So this tournament that we're covering tonight is, the next stop on the tournament trail, the next to last stop for the Southern Illinois Kayak Club. So now, Kevin, I'm going to kind of turn to you as kind of our expert here on this lake since you live so close, and Darren, chime in whenever you want. Can you kind of describe if no one's ever been to Devil's Kitchen, how unique that is and what kind of fishery you're dealing with there?
Man, pretty much what they did is they went to the one end of it and dammed up a creek, and flooded the entire forest there. It's beautiful. It's probably one of the prettiest lakes in southern Illinois, but oh my God, you you get sick of flipping wood at the end of the day. I can just say that. It's you're just hoping you can find a rock on the bottom, you know. But
So they didn't clear any timber at all. You think they just dammed it?
no, they just dammed it up. There's places out there for the main boat running lanes where they've got markers where the locals have come through. And I know when the lake's been low and past, there's guys that's cut treetops off so they could make running lanes.
Okay.
And it's deep, you know.
Yeah.
20 foot off the bank. Most places it's 20 foot deep.
Wow. So is Devil's Kitchen a reservoir, a water reservoir, or what? Do you have any idea why did they create it?
You know, I really don't.
Okay.
I'm not sure why they did that.
All right. Awesome. So what about like water clarity, things of that nature?
Super clean. At least I felt. Darren may not have thought so, but I thought it was really clear. A lot of grass along the banks, and like I said, tons of wood and things like that. But the water clarity was really clear.
Okay. So how many times do you usually fish there if there's not a tournament, like a year? Do you get there quite a bit, or?
I haven't been there since I had a club fish off there in 2006. Yeah. And the first time, and the week prior to the tournament was the first time I'd been there since.
Okay.
So I did win that tournament, by the way. We had, believe it or not, we had almost 18 pounds.
Wow. Yeah. As we'll talk about the numbers in a little bit, the fishery seems to have changed definitely since then. So, Darren, do you have much experience on that lake at all?
To be 100% honest, I've never been there before. I showed up tournament morning, and that was about it. I agree. It was nothing but wood. And you'd be in 60, 70 feet of water, and there's treetops sticking up. It was unlike anything I've ever fished before.
So there's six.
I was using my Panoptic, my live scope, to see groups of fish in 60, 70 feet of water and catching them. It was absolutely insane. All in treetops. It was insane.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, I'll try not to get on a side discussion too much here, but you just recently got that Panoptic system, didn't you?
Yep, I got it right before our coffee tournament.
Yeah. So, give us a short history. What have you learned, and what's frustrated you? What's worked great for you with it?
Well, I am notorious in our club for being really, really good fishermen during the spring. I can catch fish really good during the spring and early summer when the fish are shallow. But as soon as the fish starts going deep, I can't find them for some reason. And I decided last year that I need to upgrade my graph a little bit. So I bought I think it was a Garmin 6-inch, just straight down scan is all it was, and used it last year, and I kind of liked it, so I figured I'd upgrade it this year. So over the winter, I got a 7-inch with side scan. Well, after having that for about 3 months, I said, yeah, I need something else. So I now have a 7-inch with side scan, and I have a 9-inch with live scope. So I got quite a few electronics hanging off the side of the boat. But since I got the live scope, I've really been able to find the fish in a little more deeper water. I've at coffee, and especially the first time I ever used it, I caught one fish 100%, watched it eat bait on live scope. It was really cool.
Yeah, I think I remember you talking about that as we were taking the kayaks out at the end of the day. Somebody asked you if you caught anything on your live scope, and you explained, yeah, I looked, there was a fish, I had cast it, and I went, hey, where'd that fish go? And then your line was taken off.
Basically how it worked.
Yeah, I'm a little scared. Someone handed me one of those. I'm afraid I'd just spend the entire day looking at my screen.
I typically turn it off until I have a limit of fish. If I don't have a limit of fish, I don't even look at it, because I will get distracted, and I don't really know how to tell the difference yet between a crappie and a bass, especially in Devil's Kitchen. They're the same damn size. So
yeah,
I spent a lot of time fishing for bluegill and crappie that were not bass.
That's an interesting tactic. I haven't heard that before. That makes a whole lot of sense, though.
Absolutely.
If your specialty is catching fish shallow, wait till you have to go deep and go after them. Awesome. So Kevin, I was looking up the numbers here right before the podcast started. Jay, again, congratulations. Jay had 66.75. You were not far behind, and that 64.75. But I noticed that Jay had a heck of a kicker fish here.
Yeah.
he should be real proud of. And let me see if I can share the screen here. I got to show this 20-inch fish. So with this coming on board, we're thinking, did you guys know that he had this 20-inch fish in the boat at some point?
It's funny because, Darren, after that storm hit, and then you and I went across the lake, you went right, I went left. And when I was going left, I know he was on the opposite side of us back from where I had come from. And I heard something flopping in his boat. And he was kind of sitting over there with his head down for a little bit, but I didn't think it was a 20 and a quarter, but congratulations on that. That's awesome.
Yeah. When I saw that pop up, I'm like, ooh, that might be a different tournament than everybody thought it was going to be.
Yeah. And I will say that, I feel his pain because he paddles, and this was my second tournament with the trolling motor, and he fought some wind that day, big time.
I'd love to see you guys getting there, getting it done in just a simple, pure kayak. That's great.
I actually met him whenever I got to the ramp. I got to the ramp and I saw him and I said, "Oh, how'd you do?" And he says, "Well, I did okay, not really that good." I said, "Well, what do you think you had?" He says, "Oh, maybe 65." I said, "Dude, you might have won the tournament." He says, "No way." I said, "I feel like I had a good day and I only have like 58 inches." And he said, "Well, what's the biggest fish right now?" I said, "Longest I've heard of is a 15 incher." He says, "Oh, I easily got that beat."
Yeah, that also brings up something. So, do you guys check the leaderboard during the day?
Not really.
I used to, and then pretty much after Newton this year, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to stay away. It's kind of like Darren not using his live scope till he gets a limit of fish. I just quit looking at it because then it'll spin me out. So I've got to where I don't even hardly submit my fish until I get to the ramp anymore.
Yeah, I've adopted the same practice. I don't even try to look at it until if I got 5 fish in the boat, then I'll start looking at it maybe. But
I get in my head a lot. If I see, say, Jonathan Kessler puts up 90 inches in the first 2 hours, that just I get in my head and I'm thinking, well, now I'm doing the wrong thing, and I lose all confidence in every bait I'm throwing.
Yeah, has he done that before? Every tournament, yeah. Yeah. That's with him. That's about every other tournament. So, all right, fantastic. So, you ended up, Darren, with 58 and a half inches. So, in case anybody hasn't figured out, the overall, I don't know what the average size was, but just looking at the tournament, the leaderboard, it looked like, I can bring that up again, it looked like, yeah, so when I look at an average, I don't think 67 fish caught, 17 anglers. I don't think there's an average on here. But just looking on here, it looks like the average is probably under 13 inches.
Oh, well under 12.
Yeah. Did you guys? What did you expect walking into this tournament, size wise?
I figured 65 inches would win it. I figured somebody would have 4 12 inchers and something just a little bit better. Size wise, I figured about right where it was.
So let me ask you, did either one of you make any strategy changes that you mind sharing to try to target bigger fish, either at the beginning or during the tournament?
I personally took more of a numbers stance on it. So I knew I can catch a lot of fish. So I probably caught, I figured I'd throw a smaller bait, try to catch as many fish as possible. And hopefully one of those fish was going to break 15, 16 inches and hope that's how I was going to catch a big one. And then I should have, looking back at it, should have probably thrown more big baits around, but I was catching 9, 10, 11 inch fish all day long. And I had a great time doing it.
That's awesome. What about you, Kevin? Did you think any change in tactics would help with a larger fish, or just a number game?
I caught a lot of my fish on a 3/8 ounce jig that day, kind of a finesse jig, and I tried throwing a 1/2 ounce jig with a lot bigger profile, and I just couldn't get anything to even look at it. And if I did, they just pulled the claws off of it. Kind of like Darren, I figured that if I was going to fish that way, I would probably fish all day to hopefully catch one fish instead of even thinking about getting a limit. So I just pretty well stuck with, smaller stuff as well.
Yeah. So let's talk about the weather a little bit. Describe what happened during that tournament. It sounded like it was a roller coaster ride. I was watching from afar. I couldn't make it to the tournament, so I was in the northern part of Illinois. That I was north of you guys, and watching the radar, and it looked like it was going to miss you, but that didn't happen, did it?
No, I kind of thought there for a minute that when we first started that it was going to miss us. It was dead calm. It was at 6 o'clock. There was no wind. It was just dead calm. And about, what would you say, 10 minutes into it, the wind kind of picked up and it got pretty nasty.
I think I got about 45 minutes of fishing in before the wall cloud hit. And I just look up and you could see the cold front coming through, and it was just a black wall. And I was like, "Yep, time to go back to the ramp. We're gonna sit this one out." I wasn't playing with that.
Yeah.
No.
It was funny because 3 minutes into it, I was heading down the bank just from the ramp, and I seen some fish schooling right on the edge of the grass, and I caught 2 in one cast. And they were. One of them was I don't know, like 11 3/4 or 11 1/4, and the other one was 10. I just bumped the one, and right when that black cloud started coming across the water and really started ripping, that's when I caught that 15-incher. There was a little beaver hut there in the back. I was throwing imagine this, a 4-inch green pumpkin tube. It's kind of just what I stick with most of the time. And there was a beaver hut back there, and it popped off that beaver hut into the grass, and I caught that one. And if I'd have got a couple more bites, I probably would not have came in. So, but I think we both had 4 fish when we came back to the ramp when the rain started. Yep. So
you caught them pretty quick then in the morning.
Yeah, they were biting good.
Before the storm, it was really good. And then as soon as that storm rolled through, the bite died completely, turned around. I was watching them on my live scope. I'd throw a jig down, and I could see the fish as soon as they'd see it, and they could see it from 10, 15 feet away because the water was so clear. They would come swimming right up to it as soon as it hit the water damn near. So I would throw it in, and 1 or 2 of them, I threw it down, and it was about 6 inches over his head, and he was looking at it, and I popped it away from him, and he just came in and sucked it right in. That was actually my big fish of the day, 12 inches. But after the storm went through, I could do the same thing and see the fish, but I'd throw a jig at them, and they wouldn't even hardly move. They'd just sit there. They were very, very stagnant. They just didn't want anything to do with it. I don't know if the pressure changed or what, but it died.
Yeah. Everybody that, I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people that I've heard talk about their experience with live scope, they said that it's not so much a fish catching device as a learning about fish and their attitudes. And you kind of just repeated that. Did you make any adjustments based on that you thought would work?
I did. I switched my trailer. So before I was using more of a rage crawl trailer, and it puts out.
The weird thing that I figured out through the day is, a lot of times I'll parallel the bank and, stay in the strike zone the whole time. And I could not get a bite doing that. I had to throw into the bank and work it straight out. I don't know if it was just the way that it was coming out of that grass into the open water or what, but I couldn't get a bite parallel, and everything that afternoon I caught was throwing straight into the bank and coming out. So,
and was most of it sounds like there's pretty deep shelves right off the bank, right? I mean, it got deep fast.
Yeah, pretty fast.
Yeah. So is that a tactic you like to use, Kevin? Is to do something maybe most bass boats can't do? Just hug up onto the shore and cast parallel to the shore.
A lot of times, because I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I catch a lot of fish right underneath my boat. I don't feel like the kayak spooks them. I don't know. I can't say that with the trolling motor now. I don't know how that's going to work. But like paddling, say we were fishing Newton, I would get 4 foot away from that phragmitis around the bank and pitch right in there like that. But yeah, so I do parallel the bank a lot because I don't feel like I spook the fish in the kayak.
Now, Darren, you're in pedal power, right?
Yes.
Don't you use pedal power? Okay.
Yep.
What's your experience there? Have you seen fish get spooked, especially now you have the live scope when you're moving the pedals and creating some disturbance in the water, or do you think that has no effect?
Not really. I typically pedal really slow if I'm throwing more of a jig
Mm-hmm.
or wacky rim around. But if I'm throwing chatterbait, I'm burning bank. I mean, I'm moving some bank. And one tournament in particular, we fished Newton last year it was our classic and our first tournament of the year put together because our classic got canceled. And me and Reese, we grew up together. We went to grade school together, high school together, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I was talking to him once or twice throughout the day, just passing by. And me and him were both throwing chatterbaits paralleling the bank. Everybody else that day that we saw was casting at the bank, at the bank, at the bank. And we were throwing parallel to the bank. And that's how we were getting bit. And we ended up getting first and second in that tournament.
Awesome.
Is that the tournament where you had? I mean, you had an unbelievable bag. It was like 100 and.
Oh, no, that was this
Will,
year.
it was like 100. Yeah, that was this year, wasn't it? It was like 112 inches or.
We got first and second in that one. It was at Cedar, and we were
it
both
was a
throwing
classic.
chatterbait.
Man, incredible.
That was one of my best tournaments ever. I was throwing a chatterbait and was super, super slow rolling it over grass flats, and I ended up catching 4 fish over 20, I believe, in the 19 or 2 19s, and it was 103/4 inches. That's our club record right now, and that was a great day. Reese was in second with 95, which was an amazing day alone.
Wow. And were you guys fishing in the same general area, or were you separate?
Completely separate areas of the lake.
Okay.
But same tactic. We were both throwing a chatterbait on the bank.
Amazing. So both of you are really close in the Angler of the Year stats. Do you guys know where you're standing at in the Angler of the Year?
I know I'm second, 1 point behind Kessler.
Yeah, and I think the last time I saw him, Kevin, you were in the top 5, I think.
I think fourth. If they listed them in order last time, fourth. So.
Okay. So you guys are looking at the last tournament coming up, and one of my favorite lakes to go to is Cedar Lake down in south of Carbondale. So without disclosing too much, so as we move through and we're looking at early fall getting started, this is going to be when is the date of that tournament? Isn't it September?
September 9th.
9th, okay. So September 9th, I mean, that is a natural lake, I think. Do you think we'll have any cool down before then, depending on if we have typical weather, or what do you expect?
It's possible. It usually seems like right around the first of dove season, in the 1st of September, we get just a little bit of cool weather. But then again, it could be 100. You never know down here.
No, not in Illinois. And I'm probably going to try to do an episode just on Cedar Lake. I don't know if any of the local guys will even talk to me about it because we have some big tournaments coming to Cedar Lake in the next couple of months, right? The Crossroad tournament, and then you're going to have the last of the Southern Illinois Kayak Club tournament that'll decide a lot of the Angler Year points, a lot of things like that. So definitely, if you're listening to this, you're a kayak fisherman, you've never been, regardless of whether you like bass fishing or what kind of fishing you like, it's definitely one of my favorite lakes to just get out and recreate on. I mean, you don't have to worry about people running over you as much, and beautiful water. So what are you thinking? Are you guys hoping to be on a Crossroad team?
Oh yeah, I'd love to.
I think I'm basically already in. I have 4 or surpassed 4 tournaments now since Devil's Kitchen didn't count towards ALY. So best 4, I already have 4 in the top 5. So there'd be something wrong if I don't get into that.
So you mentioned, Kevin, you now have a new trolling motor on your boat. You've only had that a couple of months. What did you end up putting on there?
So I got a XI3 motor guide.
Okay, and you're on a new canoe, right?
Yes, new canoe unlimited.
Okay, so how's that working out with the new trolling motor?
It's fantastic.
I see the look in your eye.
It's nice to leave the lake at the end of the day and not feel like somebody's hit you in the back with a sledgehammer. It's honestly, it's an absolute game changer. I feel like I've stayed pretty competitive even when I paddled.
Very much so.
But this just opens up a whole new world for me. I was thinking about St. Chris the other day when I had went way out, and lo and behold, Darren come by me again, and I let him have a bank, and he did catch a 16.5 incher about 10 foot from me. Don't ever let this guy have a bank, or he's gonna wear him out.
It makes you feel better. I called that fish out.
It does not make me feel any better. But yeah, it's really a game changer. Just the mobility. Now that I have, I can, like Coffeen, I fished right at the ramp. Basically I fished the ramp all day long, and knowing going to some of these other places next year, I'll be able to see parts of the lakes that I've not been able to see. It's a game changer.
Yeah. And so have you got a lithium battery on that now, or?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got lighter weight battery.
Yeah.
So in your which model new canoe you say you're in?
In the unlimited.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you have any idea what kind of speed that XI3 does?
Well, I can get if I lowered it a little bit more, which I could probably do in Cedar. I didn't at Devil's Kitchen, but I can get right at about 4 miles an hour.
All right, that's good. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Darren, you got any plans to look at motors? Are you gonna keep pedaling?
I might keep pedaling. If you got a motor, then you got to register, and that's too much for me. I'm just gonna stick to the pedal drive. It works pretty good. I'm young yet.
Yeah, exactly. I have to be honest with you. I know after an 8-hour day, I'm fully motorized and an autopilot, and after an 8-hour day, I wish I had about a 2-hour stint in a pedal drive just to get some exercise. Because you kind of get you just sitting in the same seat all day long get kind of tiresome. But then when it's 92 degrees and you've been on the water for 7 hours, and it's kind of nice. Hit that button and just
Devil's
move out.
Kitchen, I fished from lines in at 6 a.m. and I was off the water at 7 just for that thunderstorm. Went back out around 7:30 or 8, and I fished all the way and got off the water about 8 p.m. that night, or 7:30 p.m. I fished all the way. I was about 14 hours on the water. I was about tired. I think I did a little under 10 miles.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. All right. So looking forward to the next event will be Cedar Lake. What's your predictions for weight or length on Cedar Lake for the next tournament?
I don't know. What do you say, Darren?
Based off years past, Cedar in the fall typically slows down quite a bit. If I had to guess, I'm gonna say 88 to 90 inches will probably take first place. Top 5 will probably be over 85.
Okay.
I'm going to say it's going to take about 93.
About 93?
Yeah, I think it's going to be about 93 inches.
Yeah. You guys both going to be able to fish that tournament?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I will not be able to be there, but I can't wait to hear how you get your day went. I think both of you guys are always a threat to win every time you show up, regardless of what the body water is or whatever time of year it is. So you guys are two of, I think, the people that one of many people in the club that, I mean, anytime I fish I talk to you guys on the water, both of you, you're always really open. It's like, hey, how are you doing? If they find out you're not catching one, both of you, I've had you guys say, hey, try this, or this is what I'm doing that works. And I think that just speaks volumes for the caliber of people, not just in the Southern Illinois Kayak Club, but just for people on the water, period, helping each other out. So thanks for doing such a great job of representing the sport.
Thank you.
Yeah. So anything a final word? I've kept you guys for about half hour or so. Anything final word you want to put out there? I think I want to hear more about Darren's live scope.
Yeah, I think it might be more of a hindrance sometimes than a help. But it's it's very interesting to use. I can't wait to use it more and actually learn about it. And I finally got it really dialed in to where I can see the fish more. Because before, whenever I first started using, especially like caffeine, I could see it, but I was like, is that a fish? Is that a log? What is it? And I'd throw it down there and get snagged. Oh, that was a rock.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever be intelligent enough to use one. I had to have somebody come out here to the church tonight and hook the computer up for me because I've got a 7-inch down scan, and that's about as far as my pay grade goes on electronics. I'm just looking for depth. But I do have to say, fishing right next to you the other day, and he could show me the fish. Be like, oh, there's a fish right there, and I mean, we were literally close enough to each other to where I could see his graph,
Yeah.
And, it's pretty impressive.
I caught a fish right next to you.
Yeah.
Didn't find yourself like maneuvering his boat around behind his back or something to get a good picture of what's going on in front of you.
But that goes back to what I said earlier. You would never see anything like that in a boat tournament, in an actual boat tournament. People may come down the bank and cut you off or whatever, but I mean, these guys are, and there's not any of them that I've met out there that are like that. Everybody will fish right next to each other, talk, and just have a good time. And it's neat because you can really learn stuff from people.
Awesome. Now, let's talk about learning things. So if you guys had to give a piece or two of advice to a potential kayak angler that comes up to you and say, hey, I heard you've been doing this a while, thinking about getting into the fishing out of the kayak, not really ready for tournaments, just want to get my feet wet, what kind of advice would you give them?
Start slow. Don't go like full bore. If you just jump feet first into a great big event, and you're gonna get your teeth kicked in more than likely, just because there's people. No matter who you are, I fish a lot. I'm doing pretty good. There's people better than me out there, and if you go first time out there and you get your teeth kicked in, you have a horrible tournament, you can't catch fish, you're not gonna want to do it again. So whenever I first started kayak fishing, I took my kayak on a small city lake here near me that I knew had decent fish that I've caught from the bank, and fished it for a little while, and I caught a handful of fish that were really good, and I was pretty happy with that. And I started doing KBF month-long tournaments, didn't do very good in that. Then I started doing the Southern Illinois Kayak Club, and I fell in love with it. My first tournament I had was a charity event. I won that one. Next tournament was a May month long. I won that one. And then it went to in-person tournaments, and I struggled quite a bit my first year. And then 2021, I did it, and I made Crossroads that year. And then last year I made Crossroads, and this year I'll probably make Crossroads. So if you start slow and then ramp it up, you can really get good at it. It's just also learn from people that have been in it a while. So there's people that were in our club since it started. They started the club, and I learned every bit I could from them, because growing up, didn't have anybody to learn from. I learned fishing ponds. I'd wake up an hour before school, grab my fishing rod, grab a bike, and ride a quarter mile to the nearest lake, fish for 25, 30 minutes, get back to make the bus in time. That I just love doing that. And so now that I can learn from people, I try to learn everything I can, because I'm young. I'm 22, and I'm trying to learn from people like Kevin. Kevin's been doing this since I was well before I was born. So I'm trying to learn.
Yeah. Fantastic. Kevin, anything you want to add
to
there?
Learn from him.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
I know this might sound funny, but I would say when you first get started, stay shallow. And if you're not going to buy a boat that's stable, stay shallow. And if you really think you're going to like it, if you don't want to spend a lot of money, find the cheapest boat you can find that's got a good stability rating. I started, my first kayak was an Ascend, and I'll just be honest, I'm too big. I was too big for the boat, and I really had to learn how to fish out of that boat. But there's a lot of boats on the market that look cool, but I would say find something that is got a really, really good stability rating and a good seat, because if you have that comfort in there, you'll like the sport of it a whole lot better.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if you're not comfortable. And it's funny for one, both of you make great points. Darren, when you said learn from people, that's one of the reasons I started this podcast. Like, I only get to talk to a lot of these guys for 5 or 10 minutes before we launch boats, and 5 or 10 minutes, later on. It's like, even though I'm a lot older than you, Darren, still got a lot to learn. So that's kind of why I love talking to you guys after these tournaments. So I appreciate your openness there, and we'll put this online so a lot of other people can benefit from that as well. So, all right, that was a great interview. So I want to thank Darren and Kevin both for taking the time to sit down and share some of their fishing tips and experiences with us tonight. My goal in this podcast is that every time you listen to one of these episodes, you just pick up a few nuggets of knowledge that'll help you enjoy your time on the water next time. So I'd appreciate your help by spreading word about our podcast. The Kayak Bass Connection podcast can be found on not only YouTube, but also on Spotify and most other platforms. So until we meet again, remember, today's a gift and tomorrow's a mystery. So get out and fish.